What if you brought somebody in from R&D to talk about the deal that you're trying to do? What if you brought somebody in from customer service to talk about the deal? What if you brought somebody in from marketing? Because actually, whilst they might not get involved in the negotiation that goes on in the sales process, they'd have a really good view on what we're offering and how it might impact the customer and how it might impact us.
The question is from Thinking Focus.
Hi, I'm Graham from Thinking Focus.
Hi, I'm Richard from Thinking Focus.
And the question is, why should we involve people who don't think like us?
The question is from Thinking Focus, a podcast about how we sometimes get in our own way and what we can do about it.
So, Richard, why should we involve people who don't think like us?
What, you and me?
What, me and you don't think like each other?
Yeah, me and you don't think like us. Sounds like a song, this. We could do a Broadway song about this, I think. I guess what we're saying here, why should we involve people who don't think like us? So what we're talking about here is the danger that you get as a team when you are so engrossed in something. Maybe it's a problem you're trying to solve. Maybe it's a sale that you're trying to make. Maybe it's a solution that you're designing or engineering, a process that you're following. But when you're the team working on it, you get so engrossed in it that you can't see it from different perspectives. You can only see from the view that you've been looking at it from for such a long time.
But surely it's safe if I'm interviewing and recruiting. Surely it's safe to interview. To recruit you because you think like me, because I do a great job. So if you think like me, you'll do a great job.
Yeah.
And someone that thinks different might not do.
Yeah, well, I think often that's something that you hear said in recruitment, isn't it? Will they fit in? Will they fit the mould of what we're looking for around here?
I know I fit the mould, so recruit like me, they'll fit the mould.
And actually, that's for a manager, for a leader, to step back and think, well, what if we did have some people that thought differently? What if instead of all looking at it the way we do, we had some people in the team that asked different questions, that looked at it from a different perspective, that came from different backgrounds, with different, and you can't. If I suppose in any workforce you want a degree of difference in thinking and in ability. So therefore you will get some different view, but the culture that you develop internally can knock that out of people. Yeah. If you've got, as we would hope in this day and age, a diverse workforce, then the different cultures that we grow up in alone help us to look at things from different perspectives. But what if you were the sales team? The way it makes me think, as we're talking about this, is what if you've got a sales team working on a customer, a large customer that you've been, selling to for a while? What if you brought somebody else in, someone from production, to talk about the deal?
Yeah.
What if you brought somebody in from R&D to talk about the deal that you're trying to do? What if you brought somebody in from customer service to talk about the deal? What if you brought somebody in from marketing to talk about the deal? Because actually, whilst they might not get involved in the negotiation that goes on in the sales process, they'd have a really good view on what we're offering and how it might impact the customer and how it might impact us.
So actually, then that diversity of thinking could be useful for a number of reasons. One could be we could just give the customer a much better experience,
yep.
And therefore by default could end up selling more. Is that what you're saying?
I think absolutely, yeah. You could end up selling more. You could end up giving the customer a different opinion as well, couldn't you? Because so often organisations have sales teams that are the only people that get involved in the sale. So all right, you might have one point of contact, so it's always a certain person that talks to the customer and they're negotiating, they're doing whatever. But that means that the customer's only getting the view of sales.
Yeah.
So what if you did get them in a room and you'd got someone from finance and you got someone from marketing? Might not always be practical, but at least you'd have some different views from people across the organisation about the thing you were trying to work on.
Yeah, I know. I worked with some key account managers recently, and one of the phrases I use them is "Who's on your team?"
Yeah.
So typically you would go, "I'm going on a sales meeting. I'll take someone else from the sales team with me." And when you start to ask that question, "Who's on your team?" and you think about the whole of the sales process or the buying process or the customer process,
yep.
Flip it that way around, and suddenly you go, actually, there are so many other people we could involve.
Well, also, by doing that, let's say that I'm going out to see one of our large customers because the contract we've got with them and we've had for 5 years is coming to an end. So we just want to start thinking about, are we going to get the contract again? What are we going to do again? Maybe if you took somebody from customer service, maybe if you took somebody from research and development, whatever, it doesn't only help you as the salesperson, but it helps them massively, doesn't it? Because they come back saying, oh, well, actually, now we've been and met them and we've looked at things and we've talked about things, it's changed my view. So actually, it's thinking back, I remember in a job I had a number of years ago, I took someone out with me from customer service. I was in sales. I took them out to have a conversation and to see how, when we took the product along to the customer, to see how it went down, kind of thing. And they came back and said, I've spotted 3 things that I'm constantly asked about, I'm constantly called about, that happened in that meeting with the product. And I said, oh, what were they? And, then we had this conversation and we both learned from it, because I was like, oh, okay, right. So if you're getting questions about that, what do we need to do differently? Yeah. And she was saying, actually, I didn't realise that it came across when you demoed it in the way that it did. So that's why we're getting the questions. So that helps us as well, because we can now talk about what you've done. So we've never known that.
Yeah. Can be good just from a learning point of view.
Yeah.
That you can spot some things that could help you as a salesperson sell better.
Yep.
Sell the product more effectively, or again, back to that, the customer experience therefore is improved because someone might spot something that there's another feature that's not being mentioned or whatever it might be.
I mean, we talk a lot, don't we, about mindset?
Yeah.
And actually, we talk about the fixed mindset of always looking at it from the same point of view, which basically means we're not learning.
Yeah.
We're not learning. The growth mindset point of view allows us to maybe get a view of somebody else, to look at it from a different perspective, that helps us to learn, iterate, get better, change. We do a number of, we work with a number of clients on continuous improvement mindset. And when we run projects in organisations, we encourage them to have cross-functional teams working on a project, because you can take somebody from the shop floor and sit them down with a senior manager and 3 or 4 other people from different parts of the business, and they will all say something about the project that's different because they come at it from a different perspective that none of them are necessarily thinking about. So already we're in a better place, because now we're getting a more rounded view. And as long as they've got that growth mindset for continual improvement, how do we get this better? How do we make it better? How do we make it better? You're in a good place. The problem is when you have a group like that and you've got several of them with a fixed view that won't change, and if those people are in a senior position, that's when you've got a problem.
And sometimes I guess the fixed mindset might be, actually, why would we involve them? Because they'll have nothing to add to the conversation.
Yeah.
Somebody in a I don't know, in that case, say in a production role or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
We as management know better, therefore let's not involve them. What we're actually saying is let's overturn that kind of fixed mindset and go growth mindset. So actually, everybody involved with the process is likely to have something to add to a conversation like that.
Yeah, I mean, I read a number of years ago, Rudy Giuliani's book on leadership, and he was the mayor of New York at 9/11. And the book wasn't about 9/11, but it was about some of the things that he did as a leader. Whether you like his politics or not doesn't matter. He was an effective leader. And one of the things he said that stuck out to me was, he had a number of phrases in the book, but one of them was, get on the ground and see for yourself. And he learnt that whilst being mayor of New York, that loads of things had come to his daily meeting. All people from different functions of, that made New York work, the different departments that made New York work, would come and talk about things. And when problems came up, it's very easy to say, well, Graham, you lead that part of New York's government. You go, sort that out. But actually, what he learnt was, I'll go and see. I'll go and see. So he'd go to different districts, he'd go to different parts of the city, and he'd try and experience what it was that was upsetting, the citizens of New York, what the issue was. He'd go and experience it for himself, because he always discovered when he did that, he learned something that he didn't know, just from talking to one of his trusted aides. Now, it wasn't that he didn't trust them. Yeah. It was that none of us can get an absolute 100% view across to another person just through talking. It's impossible. It will always be tainted by my view, won't it? Yeah. So he said, Go, get on the ground and go and find out for yourself. And I think that comes back to this cross-functional working thing, because I might be a senior manager making loads of decisions. We've got a guy or a girl from the production line that says, well, hang on a minute, I'm doing this 53 times a day.
Day in, day out.
This is a real problem. Go and see. Go with them and have a look.
I'm trying to pull some of this together in summary then. So we're saying engaging people who don't think like us actually is a really positive thing, because they'll help us to view things from a different perspective.
Yep.
That might be in an organisation, maybe about how we recruit people. So don't just recruit in my image.
Yeah. Not in your image.
Not my image.
No, definitely not. Don't do that.
A better image than that. More in your image.
No. You're lovely.
So how do I, in an interview process, think about
what's the divergent views that we'd like,
and then from any perspective, from a sales perspective particularly, not just taking salespeople to sales meetings, or from a continuous improvement perspective, not just engaging management, but actually engaging people from across the process.
Yeah, because it'll help learning and help the process, and might even help sales.
Yeah, and then the final point then is actually, and if we do all of that, not only do we improve sales, improve things from a customer perspective, but actually from an organisational point of view, we're learning all the time.
Test and learn.
Yeah, well, that's great. Well, thank you for that.
Thank you, Graham.
Next time on The Question Is.
The reality is you can't do those three things at once. You can be participating in three things probably badly. So you've got to go back and read that page of your book again because you haven't quite got it, or you pause the telly and go back because you haven't quite got it, or in a conference call, you've missed something, or when someone's missed something. When you go, so Paul, what do you think? And there's a big pause.
Thinking Focus works with teams and business units in organizations around the world, helping them achieve breakthroughs by enabling them to think differently. To find out more about our work and how we could help your organization, go to www.thinkingfocus.com.